Today we're going to have a look at picking out the proper pistol for my wife for her everyday carry. And she has tried several different guns, and a lot of guns that she didn't really like that much. She just kind of carried them and got by with them. She started off with a nice little brand new Smith & Wesson Shield, and she liked it because it was real small. But then when we got out on the farm, began to try to shoot it some, she hated shooting the gun. She could not target shoot with it. She couldn't hit anything with it. She had a really hard time cycling the slide. It had a very stiff recoil spring. The gun was real short, real small, and she didn't feel safe with it. She felt like she was gonna shoot herself in the hand. So I told her, I said, honey, I'm gonna help you with this. We're gonna pick you out the proper gun. So what you see in front of you is a suggestion that I made, and she really loves my GI 1911. But she's very kind. She's a very kind wife, and I listened to her though. She had some things about it that she didn't care for, and we're going to talk about those today. So the first thing we talked about is the caliber. Which caliber would you pick? And I said, instead of you picking the caliber, let's get it down to the most popular calibers, which is the 9mm and the 45, and we'll let the bad guy pick which one he would prefer to be shot with. And she said, that sounds like a good idea. So I said, okay, here's what we'll do. We'll use, we'll look at the 9mm. See if I can zoom down here a little bit. The 9mm or the 45. Which one do you think the bad guy will pick to be shot with? He gets to choose which one of these he wants to get hit with. He's gonna pick that little bitty one. That's the one that he's gonna want to get hit with. And I said, okay, you're probably right. He's gonna pick that little bitty one because it's gonna poke the smallest hole. So that one right there, that's what he'd pick. She said, yep. And I said, which one would he hate the most? She said, I think that 45, that'd be a problem. He wouldn't like that at all. So I said, okay, well, we'll eliminate that. So that takes care of that. She said, but the 45, it's bigger. She said, but I've shot yours and it doesn't feel that bad with your nice hand loads. It has a nice, it feels more like a good steady push, like bass tone, like just a good strong push. And the 9mm, why does it feel so snappy, such a small bullet? I said, well, honey, the 1911, it's only 21,000 pounds of pressure max, and the 9mm is about twice that much pressure. She goes, oh, well, I don't want that 9mm. I said, good girl, you made a good decision on that. So back to the pistol. Let's have a look at that. She picked the 45. That was a pretty easy pick. We didn't worry about the 40 because it's a dead caliber. Nobody's using the 40 anymore. 40 short and weak was just a get-by caliber when the 10mm didn't work for the FBI girls. They didn't like it, too much recoil. Some of the guys that didn't have strong wrists, they didn't like a 10mm either. So they made it the 40 short and weak. So it's gone. So we got down to the 45. That takes care of that. So I said, well, what else do you want, honey? She said, well, my wife said she wanted to have that great, crisp, light trigger like the 45 has, like my 45 has. And I said, well, we can find a pistol with that. And she said, well, I'd like it to be like a 3-pound consistent, crisp trigger. I said, I can do that for you, baby. We can do a 3-pound. And she said, well, how much is that one? I said, well, let's take a look at it here. She said, because I like yours pretty good, but I think I'd like it even a little bit lighter. And I said, okay, well, we'll try this one. Let's see what we can get here. I got my little trigger gauge. Expand this out a little bit. And this has been checked empty. We don't have to worry about that. I like these. These are just a little simple little Wheeler trigger gauge, and they work really good. We got that reset to 0. So we'll make the grip safe, take thumb safety off, make the grip safety, and I'll pull on that and see what we come up with. We've got a click, and you can see the poundage. Let's see if that'll zoom in there. You can see the poundage there, and that's on Grandpa's gun. It's right at 3.5 pounds. That's not bad, not bad at all. That's on the old Remington Rand, Grandpa's gun. So she likes it, but she said she'd like to go even yet a little lighter. I said, well, honey, I can do that for you. That's not a big deal. I can do the trigger job. That's the beauty of a 1911. They can be tuned real easy to get the trigger down crisp for you. So she said she wanted that nice gold standard of the 1911 trigger. She wanted a 3-pound consistent crisp break. I said, okay, that's good, I can do that. I said, well, what else do you want in the gun? She said, well, I want it to be super thin. And I said, well, you got that right in front of you, baby. That's the thinnest gun. It's a single stack gun, and they are just thin, boy. I said, the old timers, the old mobster guys and bad guys, they loved them because they just shove that thing, they stick it in the front of their pants, and that gun disappear. I mean, it's a thin gun. And I said, all these new modern 9mm, I don't care if it's an XD or a Glock, most of those are double stack, and they start getting fat. Now, they do have some that are single stack that they realize they need to be a lot more narrow than what they are. I understand that. But she didn't want that. She didn't want the plastic gun. She wanted something that was a little bit sturdier, a little bit stronger. And we had that discussion. I'm helping her lean that way too. I'm biased myself, but I said, what else do you want besides being thin? She said, well, I want a government style grip. And I said, okay, we can find you a 1911. So you want this size grip right here? And she said, yeah, because it fits my hand good. And I noticed when I shoot yours on the farm to do some target shooting, I can hold the gun better. And I said, well, you'll still be able to hide it. We'll work on that. It's nice and thin. And as long as your hand fits on it good, you got a good grip on it, that'll be worth a lot. So we'll do that. I said, what else do you want? She said, well, yours weighs in at 40 ounces, and I'd rather have something that's about 10 ounces less, about 30 ounces. I said, okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll get you one like this, but we'll get one that's a little shorter. Would that bother you if it's a little, like 3/4 of an inch shorter? Maybe a commander size. The grip will stay the same, but they'll saw this part off right here. So the barrel and frame can be a little bit shorter. We'll make that down about that length. And she said, yeah, that would be good. I said, what about this lower right here? Instead of making it out of solid steel, they could build that whole lower part, the frame of the gun, out of aluminum. It'd be heat treated, real strong aluminum. And we could drop your pistol weight from this GI gun, from a 40 ounce, we'll drop it down to 30. She said, oh, that sounds good. I said, in fact, I know one that'll weigh in at 26 ounces. The gun's 26. She goes, oh, that sounds good. I like that. I said, okay, what else do you want? She said, well, I have seen some that have, like, instead of having this square tail on it right here, that kind of digs into me. I'd like to have one that's really rounded even more. This has got a curved mainspring housing, but she said, I like to have one that the tail end of it is like a bobtail, kind of like I've got a 22 revolver, and it's a bird head grip. I'd like a 45 that has like a bird head grip on it, like a bobtail. And I said, I know one we can use. We'll get you one with a bobtail, no problem. She said, another thing is, I want it to be easy to rack. She said, I noticed yours was pretty heavy. Is there any way we can get it a little softer to rack? I said, yes, baby. I said, 1911s, you can put custom springs. I can make the spring right here for your magazine release. I can make it lighter. I can make your hammer a little bit lighter. I can make your recoil spring lighter, and we'll make it where it's just buttery smooth and real light for you to cock. It'll be a lot easier for you to cock it. She said, okay, you about talked me into it. What else? She said, well, I want that low pressure round that's not real snappy. And I said, okay, that's the 45. We've got you covered on that too, because that 45, it's low pressure. And I said, some of my hand loads, I can load them down to around 15,000 pounds of pressure. And you can shoot the critical defense ammo. And the critical defense ammo is about the same thing, except instead of being 230 grain ball, it's 185 grain. And you drop down to 185 grain, and that's going to knock 30% of your recoil off right there. 30% less than ball ammo. She said, boy, you got this sounding better all the time. I said, okay, it's going to work. And I said, what else do you want? She said, well, I want it to be pretty. I said, what do you mean by pretty? And she said, you know, instead of, yours is all black. This GI gun, it's got black button here, and this is black, and this control here, this thumb safety thing, it's all black, and the grips are just old brown plastic. I kind of like to have some prettier grips. Maybe I could have one that has the bottom part could be one color. I've seen two-tone. Maybe I could have the bottom could be like a gray or a lighter color, and then the top could be black. I said, okay, we can do that. I said, that's the beauty of working with the 1911. It's fully customizable. I said, all right, baby, you ready to see what yours could look like? She said, I sure am. I said, well, let's lay Grandpa's GI gun aside and see what I picked out for you. She said, oh, I can hardly wait to see it. I know it's going to be something special. I said, yep, it is. It's going to be pretty special. And look at that. She said, wow, that's totally different from your gun. I said, yeah, it is. I said, now let's go over your list, because you gave me a list of stuff that you wanted it to do. Let's go back to the beginning. First thing was the caliber. What caliber? You want a 45? She said, yeah, I don't want the 9mm because it's too snappy. So I said, okay, we're not going to use the 9mm. Now, you know, baby, they make this in a 9mm. This is called the TSOS Stingray, and you can get this in a 9mm. She said, well, you do all that reloading, and I like shooting your gun, and you can make it for me however I want, can't you? I said, yeah, we'll make you a nice middle of the road, 185 grain. We'll come out of the tube about 750, 800, and you can shoot it all day long. Won't hurt your hand at all. Or we can get some of that nice ammo that Hornady is selling now. They've got that Hornady critical defense, and it starts off as 45 caliber, but it's got a little red button in the tip of it. And that thing hits, boy, that little red button, it looks like an eraser out of a pencil. I said, when that thing hits, it's gonna really flare. And when it flares out, that won't be 45 caliber anymore. That thing's gonna turn into 75 caliber. She said, really? I said, yeah, I've shot some water jugs with that stuff right there. You cannot shoot through 3 jugs of water with that bullet. You can't do it. You shoot through the first jug, it'll go through. You shoot the second jug, it'll go through. It gets that third jug of water, and it's gonna slam on the brakes. That bullet right there will be about 70 caliber, 70 to 75 caliber. That little red eraser thing is going to push down, turn to a pancake. Those wings on that, the nose of that bullet are going to open up, and it's going to be like a drag parachute on a dragster slamming on the brakes. It's going to dump all of its energy. That little 185 grain bullet right there will come out of that tube at 1,000 feet a second and still have nice low recoil. Very, very good for girls. And it won't be snappy. There won't be no snappiness because it's low pressure round. So we get the best of both worlds. You got something that's very lethal, stop a bad guy, and at the same time, nice low recoil. And if you wanted to hit a little harder, you can step on up to 230 grain if you wanted to, or maybe a plus P or something radical if you wanted to. I said, now what else did you want? You wanted a gold standard trigger, all right? I've got you a good trigger. Let's go ahead and test that thing out. The gun has been checked empty. You can see it is on a nice little frame here, and I have checked them empty. Let's go ahead and check the trigger pull weight. What did you say you wanted, honey? She said, well, I wanted 3 pounds. Okay. Well, let's pull this trigger right here. hold the thumb safety in, do a quick snap, and I heard a snap. Oh boy, look at that. How much did you want, baby? She said, I like it to be about 3 pounds and nice and crisp. Can you see that right there? Oh, that is just a touch below 3 pounds. Let's try that again. That might be too good. I might have to be jealous of my wife if she gets a trigger that good. Let's try that again. There's no way she's gonna get a trigger that's 2.75. Oh boy. Yeah. All right, wife, what if it was 2.5? She said, well, I can do that. I said, you're not too shaky with it. Now, you know that thing's gonna be pretty light for a carry gun. She said, well, the bad guy's gonna have to get out of the way. I said, yep, that's true. That's true, it's a good safe gun. Let's see what else we got here. Oh boy, that is just a touch. So right between 2.5 and 3 pounds. I did some good custom trigger work on that. So she likes that. All right, what else did you say that you wanted, honey? Well, she said, I want it to be a super thin gun, and it is that. It's a 1911. She hates the micro one. She wanted the grips to be commander size. No, that's not right. Commander size gun, but government size grips. So guess what? That is a government size grip. That's the same size grip as my government size gun here. So the grips are the same. She likes that. And she wanted it to weigh in at under 30 ounces. That gun right there is 26 ounces. But it weighs 26 ounces for that gun as is with no mag. With the mag, it'll be a little bit more than that. With a few bullets in it, it'll still be around 30 ounces. 30 ounce gun instead of a 40 ounce gun. I said, what else did you want? She said, well, I wanted it to be a bobtail. Remember that? I said, okay, let's have a look here. Let's go ahead and cock this. We'll put the safety on, keep it ultra safe. I said, look at that little bobtail it's got right there. See that? They sawed that thing off. Instead of it being squared off like the regular GI gun is, the GI gun is really squared off. Now it's got it has a rounded mainspring housing. That round makes it a little bit better, but still yet, this has even got a lanyard loop. That's not too good for her to carry in a belly band. But this one, she wanted it to be like her Bird's Eye 22. And it may not quite be as good as a bird head gun, but it sure is a lot better than just a regular old 1911, boy. I mean, that you get into Ed Brown, you're gonna be looking at about $2,500 for an Ed Brown, but that thing's pretty nice. It's pretty slick. Those grips fit it good too. I said, what else was it that you were wanting? You had to remind me because I forget. And she said, well, remember, I wanted it to be, I wanted it to have 2 safeties because I'm going to carry it in a belly band and it's going to be right up on me. I said, okay, look at this. This is the only gun out there. Now, I'm going to get, some people are going to jump on the bandwagon and try to correct me and all that, but they're not going to get it. The 1911 is the only gun out there. It's got 2 purely mechanical safeties that have to be made before that gun can fire. You have to push in this grip safety right here. There's a grip safety. That has to be depressed, and that is transparent to the user. As soon as you pull that gun out and you start to go to work with it, you're going to make that safety. But if this is in a belly band on the front of a girl in some kind of elastic strap, she's trying to hide it, that's not going to be made because this is wrapped flat. And I've even got her a holster to put it in that keeps it even flatter. So that's your first safety, is your grip safety. And then the second safety that also has to be made is this nice one right here. So it has this safety has to be made and that safety has to be made, and then and only then can you fire the gun. So the 1911 is famous for being a very safe gun in that it has those 2 safeties, plus you got to pull the trigger to make it go bang. So that met her requirements for 2 safeties. Say, what about a Glock? Doesn't it have? No, doesn't have any external mechanical safeties on it. What about XD? Nope. How about H&K VP9? Nope. It might have 1 thumb safety, but it does not have a grip safety to go with it. Say, well, doesn't the Springfield XD Dash M, doesn't it have a nice grip safety? It sure does. The Springfield XD, there's a whole bunch of them got grip safety. It's only one problem, there's no thumb safety to go with it. Say, man, that seems awful safe to me. It is, but somebody that trains on one of these is smoking fast. Boy, they can draw that thing out, have the safety off, and shoot you before you can even ask a dumb question. So that meets that requirement. Must be easy to rack. She said it's got to be easy to rack, so we got to test that. I did put a custom spring. This came from the factory with a, what spring did it have in it? It had an 18-pound spring, and now it has, let's go ahead and rack this slide to the rear. Now it has a buttery smooth spring in it, which is now a 12-pound spring. So it is very easy for her to rack. Very easy. Racks easy. The controls work on it good. You can put it like that and get ready to hit that to release the slide. You just barely touch that. I'm going to go ahead and slow it down because I don't want to slam the gun. And off it goes. Put thumb safety on and we're back in business. So the slide racks very easily. Unlike the Smith & Wesson Shield, it was terrible. She hated it. So I don't want my wife to hate her gun. If your wife hates her gun, they're not gonna carry it. All right, what else did you want? Well, she said, I want it to be pretty. I want it to be where it can have different colors to it. Well, look at that. It meets that requirement also. Well, it's got a nice black Cerakote on the top. It has kind of a shark skin color lower frame, which is aluminum. It has a stainless looking trigger. That's aluminum trigger, but it's a different color than these two. I have added an EGW because I wanted her to have a very high quality slide stop. So I put in an EGW solid stainless steel forged slide stop. So there's another pretty control, but also stronger than factory. Then I also added a nice Wilson Combat mag release. There it is. It's stainless steel to dress the gun up a little bit. And then also a nice Wilson tactical thumb safety. So what's tactical about it? It only has 4 little skinny ledges on it. And that's so that when you got that in the belly band, you don't have a tendency to swipe that thumb safety off. It doesn't touch anything. So that is one of the most popular carry thumb safeties in the world, is the Wilson Combat Tactical thumb safety. Those are a little bit tricky to add. If you do buy one of those, know that they come in from the factory too big on purpose. And you have to file a flat on that very carefully. There's plenty of videos, YouTube videos on how to do that. So watch a video before you try to put in a thumb safety. And if you get a little carried away and keep filing and filing and filing, you get it too small, it's ruined. So take your time. That's a $35 part. It's worth every penny to me, because now I know she's got a really good thumb safety. And it comes across the other side. I went ahead and got rid of her. This had an ambi on it, but I went ahead and got rid of the ambi. Now it's just got a dot right there. So that's a stronger, for a fighting gun, unless you have to have the ambi, that's a stronger one-piece safety than the ambi. An ambi can come apart because it's 2 pieces that are sleeved together. I didn't want my sweet wife out there with something that's substandard. I wanted to be a good stout setup. So now she's got a gun that's under 30 ounces. It's a beautiful 2-tone gun. I added these nice VZ grips. These are called Cool Grips. They were about 20 bucks. They are a nice VZ look-alike, and they're made out of G10. It's a laminated like micarta, like glass and epoxy blended together. They don't break. They don't absorb water, oil, gasoline. They're super tough. The G10 material has become the standard in the industry for the 1911. Most everybody's using them. You'll see them on some very high-end guns. And so this is a very sweet little gun. Excellent shooting. I've shot it a lot. I've shot it with some hand loads. My hand load for this, 185 grain ball ammo made by Berry's Supreme Plated Bullet. They're hollow base, round nose, looks just like military ammo. Ball type ammo. It's a copper plated lead. It's struck twice, extrusion process. and they're excellent. They shoot really, really good. This gun comes with 2 magazines, and they are Metgar magazines. It's a beautiful blued magazine, real shiny. Got a little butt plate on it. You can take it apart. It's not a welded magazine. You just push in that little button with an ink pen. You can take it apart and clean your springs if you need to. It's got just a plain black plastic follower. And if you want a better quality, you can get you a Trip Cobra Mag or Wilson Combat if you want to go high end. But this has been good in her gun so far. We've shot lots and lots and lots of rounds through it. Had no jams at all. It shoots good groups. We have shot some of this defense ammo out of it that I talked about earlier, and this is a very good bullet. This is the Hornady Critical Defense, and I use a 185 grain, which gives her a little less recoil. When you drop from a 230 ammo 230 grain bullet down to 185, you're going to drop 30% on your recoil. This gun right here with that round in it will produce about 7 foot-pounds, 6.99, call it 7 foot-pounds of energy for recoil, which is not bad at all. Most everybody can handle 7 pounds of recoil, even an aluminum gun weighing in at 30 ounces. So it's quite the little hot rod setup. It gives you everything that you need and nothing that you don't. It's got that nice high ride beaver tail. You can see that. It's got that nice trigger that's been ventilated there. That's a trigger they used to call that, I think it was Videcki was the company that made those. I did put her in a little bit softer spring here on her mag release, and it's a nice stainless steel unit. It works really good. And let's see what else. Really nice high rod beaver tail. Got the skeletonized hammer. That's a factory hammer from TSOS. TSOS on their gun does not put MIM parts in there either. They use steel parts, and I really like that. It's got a slick front end on it. My wife's got a good grip, so she's not worried about that. She likes the G10 grips. They've got a good feel to them. She's very happy with this gun. She carried it today. So how does she carry such a nice little gun like that? I'll show you. She puts it in a belly band, but I told her I want that trigger protected. So what she does, she puts it in a leather holster just like that right there. And that's her carry rig. She puts it in that simple leather holster and puts that in a, it kind of looks like a girdle to me, but it's an elastic band thing that goes around her stomach. And she's well built and losing weight steadily and making more room for her 45. She's doing great. She's fast 10 days in a row now at a time and really losing weight. I'm really proud of her. She's doing a great job. But she can put that nice and flat up against her tummy, and then she's got her little band that goes around it. And it may not be a super fast tactical draw, but I tell you one thing, if she gets broke down somewhere, she can put that gun wherever she wants to. So I don't correct her on that. It's not near as fast as my open carry draw is. I put a coattail over it. But the gun is fantastic. I mean, I am very, very happy. So how much does a gun like that cost? That's got to be an expensive gun. That gun is $550, and that's $550 well spent. TSOS is an excellent company. That gun that you looked at earlier that looks like Grandpa's gun, guess what it is? Well, it's a hammer right now, but it is also a nice TSOS. That is a TSOS copy of the Remington Rand. 1943, 42, Remington Rand built a gun that looked exactly like that gun right there. So TSOS builds that gun. You can buy that for $299 right now from Palmetto State Armory. I call it Pimento Cheese Sandwich. That's my nickname. If you can remember a pimento cheese sandwich, you can remember Palmetto State Armory. And you can get online with them. They've got these regular GIs from TSOS. Forged lower, forged upper, forged barrel. I think it's chrome plated, and that is coming in at $299. This little rig here will be about $5.50, maybe $5.50 or so. And they even did I think they did a chrome on the barrel on it too. They sure did. They did chrome line. Let me just turn the gun around that way. That barrel is chromed on the inside and the outside. That just make it a little bit tougher, a little bit better as far as rust goes, and that's a nice little add-on to me. Nice that I wasn't expecting. So on the back of this gun, something else that they did kind of a shark looking finish right here on the back, and boy, that stuff is razor sharp. I mean, when you put your finger on that, you're trying to get a hold of it, you get a grip on it like that with your thumb and pull back on it. It is very, very rough finish. It's not, I don't care if you got axle grease. You could have blood, you could have water, sweat, whatever you got on your hands, whatever kind of gloves you got, makes no difference. This stuff right here is very, very sharp, aggressive. No Ford cocking serrations, but that's okay. You really don't need it if you got this, it's gonna go. The sights on it are a 3-dot sight system, kind of a Novak style in the rear, and then it's got a little bit taller than normal front sight, a little bit taller than a GI gun would have. And overall, we are very, very happy that TSOS decided to build this. This gun is called a Stingray. That's the nickname on that, and you have to watch it close because they do sell this in a solid steel upper and lower, and they do sell it in this aluminum. Aluminum, like I say, it's going to weigh in at 26 ounces for the gun. You add the mag, you'll be up 28, 29 ounces, and a few bullets, you'll be a little bit over 30, but it's across the board, it's going to weigh about 10 ounces less. Commander size, aluminum frame, you're going to weigh in 10 ounces less than a standard GI gun. And you put that in the belly band, wrap it up good and tight, and go about your business. You're never even going to notice it. And very, very safe to carry. Say, how do you carry it? Do you carry one in the tube? Yep, one in the tube. That's the way you carry that gun. You take it and lock it to the rear. I'm going to show you how we load this. Put that like that. We will just load one round. I'll take one round of this ball ammo, just for fun. There's one round of the ball ammo going in there just like that. And let me zoom this out just a little bit. And we're going to let that go like we're supposed to, and immediately, as soon as you let it go, thumb safety goes on. That's how she carries that gun, just like that. It's loaded up. I'll go ahead and pull that mag out. Now we have a loaded gun sitting on the stand right there. I say loaded to remind myself. That's the way to carry a 1911. Somebody says, oh gosh, you got the hammer to the rear. This thumb safety on a 1911 will only work if the hammer is cocked. The hammer has to be cocked, and then you can put the safety on. That's the only time you could put it on. And that's the way that John Moses Browning designed that gun to be carried. It's cocked and locked. And it was designed back in the days of horses. So with this right here, you could be riding down on the saddle all over the countryside. You've got this safety on, you've got that. They put them in a big old leather holster with a flap on it so that you couldn't touch the trigger. And you had to have, let's see how many things had to happen. You had to clear leather, you had to get the grip safety made, thumb safety off, pull the trigger. So you had to have 4 things had to happen to make that gun shoot. When they got in serious combat situations, they'd take wet leather and thin strips of wet leather, and they'd wrap it several times wrapped around the gun. They'd cover up that grip safety right there, tie it in a double knot, and they'd let it dry in the hot summer sun, and they would defeat that grip safety because they didn't used to have these little speed bumps, these little memory bumps. This makes that grip safety work a lot easier. If you don't have a really good grip, you just grab it kind of oddball angle, it'll still defeat that grip safety. Well, back in the day when they're out there in battle, in war, and they had a skinny grip safety on them, they just go ahead and defeat that. Some of your competition shooters today, they will go ahead and push that in. They drill a little hole right there and put a pin in there. But for everyday carry gun, go ahead and leave that just like it is. That way it meets the criteria that my wife wanted, which is grip safety and the thumb safety. And you get rid of both those, pull the trigger, then she'll go bang every time. Don't let anybody tell you that the 1911 is not a dependable gun. These guns come from the factory. The extractor was tuned. It has a very good quality magazine. Use modern ammo. It'll go bang every time. I didn't have to break it in. I didn't have to shoot it 300 rounds for it to work. It came out of the box. I put a few drops of good gun oil on it. Put some of my good hand loads ball ammo and then some nice hollow points, and it hadn't missed a lick. I have not had one single malfunction. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Maybe this will make you do some thinking before you go out and buy yourself a plastic gun, a striker fired gun. Keep this in mind. A lot of your striker fired guns out there, VP9, CZ, several guns out there. When you cock that gun, that striker is fully cocked, ready to go off. That includes the SIG P365, super popular gun. But when you cycle the slide on those guns, it cocks the striker all the way to the rear, ready to go. And I don't like that, because if something goes wrong and that striker turns loose, it's going to go bang. They've already had way too many SIGs that people have dropped, and they went bang, and they were not expecting that gun to go off. You're not going to get that with this gun right here. It is designed with a titanium lightweight firing pin and has an extra heavy duty spring on that firing pin that will prevent it from being able to hit even if you drop it off a tall building on the concrete. So hope that's good information for you. Please consider the 1911. It is still very, very good for today's market. It is still very good to get the job done. Appreciate y'all listening and watching the video today. Please tap that little like and subscribe on the way out the door. Over and out for now.